Good day, Kavibal, and welcome to our Learn at Home Facebook Live. For the discussion today, the topic will be on accenting the teaching and learning modalities of Araling Panlipunan online. Before we begin, take note of the following reminders. Make sure you are registered to the webinar to have your e-certificate of participation. Visit certificate.vibalgroup.com to generate your proof of attendance. Place your questions on the comment box allotted during the session and they will be addressed by our speaker later on. Share the video using hashtag LearnAs1PH as our official hashtag to our Vibal webinars. Experience learning, Kavibal? And now, to proceed with our webinar this evening, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our distinguished speaker today. Si Eldrin Jan Cabilin ay guro ng Aralin Panlipunan sa St. Mary's Academy, Pasay. Kabilang siya sa Internal Quality Auditor at Strategic Plan Committee Student Services ng nasabing paaralan. Nagtapos siya mula sa pamantasan ng lungsod ng Maynila at nabigyan ng pagkakataong makapag-aral sa Genesis 2.0 Social Community Course sa Japan sa ilalim ng National Youth Commission of the Philippines at Japan International Cooperation Center noong taong 2015. May malawak siyang karanasan sa pagtuturo at pagsasalita patungkol sa edukasyon, kultura, kasarian at humanidades. Kamakailan lang ay nagtapos siya ng Master ng Sining sa Araling Filipino, Wika, Kultura at Media sa Pamantasang de la Salle, Maynila at ginawaran ng Most Outstanding Masteral Thesis ng Departamento. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome Mr. Eldrin Jan Cabilin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jillian. Good evening to all teachers, formators, students, parents, and guardians all over Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Welcome on this Learn at Home webinar series brought to us by Vibal Group. I am glad to be back online for a night of prolific learning on this webinar. Thank you very much, Vibal Group, for relentlessly providing us with this kind of activity to continuously level up and accent our professional horizon, especially that we are in trying times due to the COVID-19. That's why let us continue to pray, let us continue to wish for the end of this pandemic. But for now, let us all together hashtag learn at home. Our topic for this evening is entitled Accenting the Teaching and Learning Modalities of Araling Panlipunan in the Online Class. Do not worry, this evening I will be giving the topic in a generic and general way, and it can be done across all discipline. I will just have my examples specifically for Araling Panlipunan as the discipline, as the subject, and I will introduce to you this evening the work of the Vibal Publishing Group, which is timely and relevant to use as a modality. It is the self-module and the Learn at Home kit, which comprises of a self-paced learning discussions, supplementary readings, and activity sheets for primary, intermediate, and the high school level. So here is the flow of our discussion. The first one, I'm going to give you an overview, a glance to the so-called new normal in education. And because of this new normal in education, there is a need. The need arises for many educational institutions to choose and pick a particular teaching learning modality that they have to use and utilize for this school year. And we have to remember that as we pick our teaching learning modality to be used for this school year, it's very important that we still consider the phases of teaching and learning. And I will also give you a glance of the six facets of understanding. Particularly, I'll give you a sample way of how you can deliver your lesson, specifically the art of questioning using the six facets of understanding. And of course, I'll give you some activities, list of activities and strategies that will be helpful for you in the attainment of what we call the active learning for our students. And since most of our educational institution is geared towards the use of online class, I will suggest few technology, few online application, few online platform that you can use for the successful teaching learning process. Let us start. I have here a question. What life-changing event took place during the first quarter of 2020? So we all know that in the early months of the first quarter of this year, around February to March, the COVID pandemic has produced extremely difficult condition which required radical changes in the way our social institutions operate. And therefore, there is now the need to create for many social institutions the new protocols, new guidelines relative and related to how we must deal with one another and how institutions should function were introduced, and this has become the brand name of the what we call new normal. Now that we are in the new normal in education, the question is how can we make it responsive to the new learning modalities that schools are instituting, not only for the purpose of economic survival, of course, but more importantly, to continue the mission of providing quality and relevant education for all Filipinos. And that is our topic for tonight. Why? Because how can we accent our teaching and learning process even if we are faced with many circumstances, even if we are facing difficulty? Okay, that's why I made the title of this webinar Accenting the Teaching and Learning of Araling Panlipunan. So we have to give emphasis. According to Cambridge Dictionary, accent means to emphasize something. We're going to emphasize, level up the way we teach our students in order to yield learning. Not just only learning, but I'd like to give the term active learning among our students. In short, here is the framework of our discussion. It's very important that in our teaching, it is equivalent, it is intertwined, interconnected, and interrelated to the learning of our student. Okay? But we are confronting a difficulty right now since we have to pick a particular modality in the way, in the delivery of our instruction. So we have to look both offline and online class as a flexible modality in our teaching and learning process. Um, the Department of Education, both the public and the private education institutions also, did not waver from instituting relevant mechanisms to continue the primordial service that they have to give to the Filipino youth, which is education, despite the threat of the COVID pandemic. In this context, the fundamental question becomes how do we ensure the development of necessary skills and competencies among our learners so that they will be prepared and they will be prepared to navigate the demands of the curriculum and to be a responsible individual in the 21st century society, despite the continuing threat in the COVID pandemic. And as a response to the call of action, the Department of Education issued DepEd Order Number 12, Series of 2020, entitled Adoption of the Basic Education Learning Continuity Plan for school year 2020-2021 in light of the COVID-19 public health emergency. And many private institutions also created their own learning continuity plan. Kasi most of the private school has commenced the school year 2020-2021 since August 24. Okay? So, the DepEd, assessed on the DepEd Order Number 12, DepEd engaged internal and external stakeholders for inputs in the design of a learning delivery strategy and operational direction that ensures the health, safety, and well-being of all learners, teachers, and personnel of the department. So it's very important now that in the learning continuity plan, it will become the roadmap of all schools, of all educational institutions, to where they will go, to where they will navigate the new normal in education. Kaya very important yung pagbuo ng strategic plan ng mga paaralan, dahil dito makikita natin what is the totality, the framework of the educational institution in order to deliver timely and worthy teaching learning process for our students despite the COVID pandemic that we are facing right now. Okay? And so, many schools has adopted different teaching learning modalities. And I know for most of our viewers, yung mga teachers natin, lalo na yung mga nagsisimula na sa pagtuturo sa pampribadong paaralan, you have now your particular teaching learning modality. So this is just a refresher course for some on a way you can still proceed with your teaching learning process. So we have synchronous, asynchronous, and modified hybrid modality. So let us first discuss the synchronous modality. When we said synchronous modality, it is where the teacher and the students log in to a single online platform and carry out tasks throughout the allotted time. So in short, in the synchronous modality, there is still an interaction happening between the teacher and the students. But this interaction that is happening between the teacher and the student is happening virtually. Therefore, there is the need for the utilization of a particular online meeting platform. Okay? In short, in a synchronous modality, the teaching and the learning happens in a real time. Like what we are doing right now, this is a perfect example of a synchronous modality. Why? Because we are live now and we are having the teaching and the learning process. Okay? So it's real time. There is still interaction. Yun nga lang, it is not in person, but it is a face-to-face virtual discussion or interaction. And the synchronous kind of modality can be done through video conferences, chat or messaging apps, or audio chat using an online tool. Okay, so these are just some of the online meeting platforms that your school may opt to use, like the Zoom, the Google Meet Hangouts, the Microsoft Teams, the Cisco WebEx, GoToMeeting, Skype for Business, and BlueJeans. These are free online meeting platforms that you can use for your synchronous classes, but since it is free, there are limitations. Like for example, for Zoom, if your account is basic, it's a free account for Zoom. There is a period of time wherein you will be able to utilize the Zoom. I guess it's around 40 minutes. For the Google Meet Hangouts, it is free, but there is limitation, I guess, to the number of participants. Similar also to the Zoom meeting platform, there is a particular um, particular number of participants that can join the synchronous discussion. Okay, so in the synchronous learning activities, we can do a lot of things. Okay, dahil parehas lang naman ito noong in-person, face-to-face interaction. Yun nga lang, nagaganap ang interaction in a virtual, in an online meeting platform. But still, you can proceed with different learning activities, such as number one, building community and relationship. You can still build a relationship with your student and with other members of the educational institution. Lead interactive modeling session. Then you can still continue to do differentiated instructions, differentiated activities in order for your students to develop their learning. So even if we are in a synchronous kind of modality, hindi mawawala yung dinidevelop natin even in the face-to-face in-person interaction na higher order thinking skills sa ating mga students. Okay? So another thing you can have the personalized instruction, coaching, guide practice and application, and of course, you can also facilitate real-time conversation, which is very important. As per experience, in my classes, some of my students ay walang gadget na ginagamit, particularly for them to speak. So wala silang headphone or wala silang headset or wala silang microphone. So whenever I pose a particular question, they will give the answer or they will make a response using the chat box. So it's very important that we still take into consideration in our synchronous learning activities ang paggamit ng chat box. Okay, so we have to still wisely utilize it. Then, like what I have mentioned, you can still proceed with differentiated instruction and differentiated activity. Similarly, you can still have or you can still develop collaboration among our students. Like the Zoom meeting platform, it has a feature ng breakout rooms, so you can still divide the class into several rooms depending upon your choice, and then give a particular group activity to them, and then pabalikin sa plenary session or sa main room for the discussion. So you can still foster it even in the synchronous learn, even in online classes. And of course, it's very important ang pagbibigay ng feedback, real-time feedback on work in progress ng ating mga mag-aaral, ng ating mga estudyante. Okay? So those are the things that encapsulates the synchronous modality. The second one is the asynchronous modality. What is asynchronous modality? Here, students are provided with content and tasks that they need to accomplish within a time frame using an online platform such as a learning management system. This is very important for us to understand, teachers. Ano ba pag sinabi nating asynchronous modality? This time, it is still wired, it is still virtual, it is still online. But in the asynchronous learning modality, kinakailangan ng particular na learning management system. Bakit? Dahil dito, in the asynchronous modality, ang bata sa kanyang sariling oras, sa kanyang sariling panahon, sa kanyang sariling kakayahan, gagawin niya isang partikular na gawain na ibinigay ninyo. Okay? Now, I saw a lot and several tweets, Facebook posts, rants tungkol sa online activity. Specifically, dahil yan sa asynchronous modality na ibinibigay nating mga teachers. Remember, in the asynchronous kind of approach and modality, this is where we will supplement. That's the number one, supplement and reinforce whatever we have discussed to them in our synchronous discussion. That's one. Or totally ibinigay natin ang gawain sa bata at gagawin niya yon ng sarili niyang panahon, oras at nagugugulin, okay, sa sarili niyang kakayahan. Therefore, we have to be very much considerate to the activity that we are going to give to our students. And remember, the asynchronous activity that we are going to give to our students must be aligned to the learning competency that you want to target. Okay? You will not just give activity to your student na activity lang. Kung hindi, meron kang tinutugma, meron kang tina-target na particular na learning competency out of that most essential topic that you have or out of that topic that you have. Okay? So, bakit? Kasi in the asynchronous modality, there is no face-to-face class meeting that is happening, even online. On self face, no, self learning ang nangyayari sa asynchronous. And the common methods that we have are as follows: self-guided lesson modules, pre-recorded video content, virtual libraries, lecture notes, and online discussion boards or social media platform. So very important, kagaya ng sinasabi ko sa inyo sa asynchronous, na meron kayong learning management system. Ito yung magiging repository, ito yung magiging bangko ng mga ipagagawa mo sa mga mag-aaral mo. At dito mo rin kukunin yung kanilang mga kasagutan. And at the same time, dito ka rin magbibigay sa kanila ng feedback mo, which is very important. Okay? What are the important things that you have to consider in the asynchronous activity? Number one, you have to be very much considerate of the workload. Second, you have to see to it that your asynchronous activity is targeting the learning competency of our student that you want them to achieve. And third, of course, you have to give feedback. Very important. Hindi ka lang nagpagawa, tas okay na, walang narinig yung bata sa inyo. No? Very important ang feedbacking. So these are the activities that you can do in the asynchronous learning activities. Read and take notes, watch video-based instructions, listen to podcasts, explore teacher-curated resources. So pwede tayo as a teacher, we create, as what I've mentioned, we create repository of links, video clips, articles, scholarly journals, and then we can give it and share it to our students. Nag-curate tayo, no? We create a bank of learning materials for them. Engage in online discussion, practice in the review, research and explore, and reflect and document learning. So those are just the things that we can do in the asynchronous learning activities. Okay, and since I am mentioning to you that there is a need for a learning management system in asynchronous learning modality, it's very important that your school or your educational institution, kayong mga teacher, you are using a particular learning management system. And Vibal has created a learning management system. It is called the Vsmart School. So if your school do not have the learning management system yet, you can contact Vibal Group for more information about how you can have Vsmart School. And this Vsmart School is powered by Vibal. There are a lot of things that you can that is included in the Vsmart School, like repository of ebooks and different activities, rubrics that is very important and relevant to the development of our student. And all of these are well aligned to the to the curriculum of the Department of Education. So if you want to know more, I highly suggest that you contact Vibal to inquire about Vsmart School. Okay? Third, the modified hybrid. Okay? This is the widely used modality that many private institutions and colleges and universities is utilizing the modified hybrid. But why? Because the modified hybrid is a combination of synchronous activity and asynchronous online models. Why? Number one, synchronous, simply because there is a face-to-face class meetings that may be organized with the help of a particular digital platform, meeting online platform, and asynchronous because time in between class meetings will be devoted to accomplish tasks as scheduled on the learning management platform. So ito yung ginagawa ng marami sa mga private education ngayon kasi mas nauna ang mga private schools sa pagtuturo. And many of our public schools also is designing their learning continuity plan using modified hybrid as the modality. Okay? Kaya siya tinawag na modified hybrid because it's the combination of synchronous and asynchronous online model. So here, based on this illustration from a variety of e-learning instructional methods and activities, you can see that from face-to-face classroom, live online coaching, what's the collaboration and community, multimedia, web-based learning, and performance support, pinagsama yung synchronous and asynchronous. Okay? There is a delivery of direct instruction, that's synchronous, and at the same time, we supplement it using the asynchronous modality. Okay? But what I have presented to you, the synchronous, the asynchronous, and the modified hybrid kind of modality are all online, are all virtual, are all wired. Di ba? Kailangan ng internet, kailangan ng kuryente, kailangan ng gadget. But we must still remember the mantra, the maxim, no child left behind. No child left behind. And this mantra, this maxim, came, of course, from United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or UNESCO's Education for All, or EFA. And at the same time, bahagi din ang No Child Left Behind ng SDG, okay? The Sustainable Development Goals that we want to achieve. Ano yon? That's number 4 on the out of 17 SDG, or out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Number 4, quality education. Hindi nga lang education eh. No child left behind. No child left behind of quality education. The term is quality. Very important yon. Okay? So, we still have to consider another form or another modality, which is the offline modular learning. Okay? So offline modular, in short, it is designed as a unit, chapter, topic, or segment of instruction. And it is a standard unit or instructional section of your course that is self-contained. Pag sinabing self-contained, self-paced, depende sa bilis at bagal ng mag-aaral ang kanyang pagsasagot. Depende sa kanyang panahon at depende nga sa pag-access niya ng modality, which is modular, which is offline. So we are still offering it to our we must still offer it to our student. Okay? Bilang pangako natin ang no child left behind. But this offline modular learning ay hindi na talaga bago sa atin. Now, for the information of everybody, the United Nations Children's Fund, or UNICEF, is sponsoring 2 alternative delivery modes, or ADM, of primary education in the Philippines. Number 1, the modified in-school, off-school approach, or MISOSA, and the enhanced instructional management by parents, community, and teachers, or the EIMPAC. So hindi na talaga totally bago sa atin ang offline modular learning. Matagal nang meron ito. Ito ay 2012 mula sa, I lift this from the Philippine ADM evaluation last 2012 pa. In short, matagal na yung promise natin, yung pangako natin na ginagawa natin doon sa maxim na no child left behind, because the department has created ways and means for our students to access learning. Okay? Ito ay ito ay very much applicable doon sa mga far-flung places ng ating bansa, no? Yung mga hindi natin napanonood sa telebisyon, madalang na ipalabas sa atin sa telebisyon, yung mga talagang walang-wala pagdating sa kuryente, much more syempre sa internet. Okay? So, they utilize this alternative delivery mode. And based on the survey of the Department of Education, bago pa man yung kanilang pag-move ng klase dahil supposed to be the initial date for the opening of the classes for public school ay nung August 24, but there is an adjustment that was made. Ang sabi doon sa naging survey ng Department of Education, most students prefer modular learning over online. That's why many teachers during the enhanced community quarantine period, no, is preparing modules, both public and public schools. We are preparing students your module. Bakit? Again, we wanted you to deliver, we wanted to give you the best education, the quality education. Kaya bahagi ng pangako namin sa inyo, bumuo kami ng module para sa inyo. Yun nga lang, nakalulungkot, no? There are rants, tweets, posts on Facebook. Meron pang ang challenge sa Facebook na hashtag sabay-sabay nating punitin ang module natin. My God! We shed our tears, our sweat just to prepare the module for you. Of course, we don't want appreciation out of what we have done, but we want you to use it wisely and properly. Yun na lang siguro, no? Again, we are still trying our very best to deliver quality education among our stakeholders. Now that we are having difficulties, we are in trying times due to the COVID-19. So, again, offline module learning is one of the modality that we have to still consider. This is flexible class. So, ang pag-aaral ay hindi lang online, pwede ring offline. So one of the self-learning, I have here, the Vibal has prepared us a self-learning module. They have prepared us with a vast range of reading selections, discussions, activities, and values on their self-learning supplement and self-learning modules. Wherein makikita nyo doon may pre-assessment, may mga readings, may mga lesson activities. So if your school is still in need of self-learning module and kit, I'd highly suggest that you contact Vibal to know more about it. And based on the video that was initially presented to us by Vibal, they have on their website. You can check the Learn at Home kit. You can utilize it. You can download it for free. But if you want to have the total package of the Learn at Home kit para sa inyong mga paaralan, para sa inyong mga guro, you have to contact Vibal to know more about the Learn from Home kit that they have prepared for us. And what they have done is a response to the call of action that learning is not only online, it can be done offline nga, kagaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo. And remember, sa gitna ng lahat ng ito, bata ang tinitignan natin, students ang tinitignan natin. We, of course, have to give the greatest how do I understand? We have to give the center and attention of our effort to our students. That's why we have to still observe the phases of teaching and the phases of e-learning. But since most of our schools opt to use the modified hybrid or the online form of modality, kailangan makikita pa din ang phases of learning and teaching, which is activation, demonstration, application, and integration. So, I'll discuss to you one by one ano itong mga phases of e-teaching and learning na ito. Number one is activation. When we said activation, learning is promoted when learners activate a mental model of their prior knowledge as a foundation for new skills. So, very important that we initially activate the knowledge of our student. Why? Because it will be our basis. It will be our very foundation in order for us to deliver and have a meaningful learning to our student. And this first or initial phase of e-teaching and e-learning will prepare your learners to connect new incoming information with existing knowledge. So, in totality or to summarize it, it is to start where the learner is. Dito tayo nagsisimula. Okay? Yung alam ng bata, ano ang alam mo? Ano ang alam ko bilang isang mag-aaral sa paksa na ibabahagi mo sa akin? And we have to think of activities and strategies that will suit our learners to activate their learning. Isa sa pwede nyong gawin is the art of questioning. Okay? So assessing students' prior knowledge, this is a preparatory strategy for you to use. First, let's have the initial association with the concept. Halimbawa, no? Ano ang naiisip mo kapag narinig o nabasa mo ang konsepto ng? Okay? So you create, they will give you a response. They will give initial association based on the concept. Then you let them reflect out of their answer. Paano mo nasabi na yung sagot ng mag-aaral? And last, after the discussion, you have to reformulate the knowledge. Matapos ang naging talakayan, ano ang iyong natutunan o nabuong konsepto? You see, we start from initial association, we let them reflect until such time that they reformulate their own knowledge. That is a way for you to assess your students' prior knowledge. Isa pang pwedeng activity, this is a sample nung sinasabi ko sa inyo na hinihanda sa atin ng Vibal na Learn at Home Kits, which is available from primary, intermediate to high school level. This one is the Kwl Chart. No? Very widely used. K means know, W means want to know, and L means learn. Alam ko, nais malaman, at nalaman ko. Okay? So, it is similar to what I have presented to you a while ago. The initial association, there's a reflection, and the reformulated knowledge out of the discussion that you have done. So, isa yan na matatagpuan in the Learn at Home kits that the Vibal Group Publishing House has prepared for us. Another strategy that you can use in activating students' knowledge is admit slips. Okay? Yung admit slips, ito ay ginagamit during the face-to-face, in-person face-to-face or during the old normal. But now, since we are doing most of our classes in synchronous modality, you can utilize the chat box. Anong gamit ng chat box? Ipinagagawa sa mga mag-aaral sa simula ng klase upang makita ang kaalaman tungkol sa isang paksa bago pa man ang talakayan. So, you will ask or you will pose a particular question to your student to activate their knowledge, and then they will give their answers on the chat box. Okay? Now, paano gagamitin yung chat box na parang admit slip? Along the process of discussion, kinakailangan tignan or i-check na natin kung ano yung mga naging kasagutan ng bata. Kung ano doon yung tama, kung ano doon yung dapat itama. Okay? And again, at the end of the discussion, kinakailangan balikan natin yung chat box na ginamit nyo as a tool for you to evaluate the learning of your students. Okay? Kung ano yung naging meaningful learning nila para sa inyong discussion. So, the admit slips in the old normal, but now in the virtual, gamitin ang chat box. Another one that we can see as an activity sheet on the Learn at Home kit by Vibal ay ang graphic organizers. Punong-puno ng graphic organizers, mga activities, yung Learn at Home kits. That's why I highly suggest that you go to their website, check it, you can download it for free, but if you want a total package, you can contact Vibal to know more about it. And then, the quick write and quick draw. Very important pa rin teachers, no, kahit nasa online tayo, lalo sa mga mga intermediate, mga primary students natin na ginagamit pa rin nila yung kanilang kamay sa pagsusulat. Kailangan i-develop pa rin natin yung sa kanila kahit na nasa new normal na tayo. So pwede 'yan sa pagtuturo ng halimbawa sa pagtuturo ng kasaysayan, i-drawing nila ano ba ang katangian ng isang mabuting emperador halimbawa. Okay? So maaari nilang gamitin 'yan, the quick write and quick draw as a strategy. So those are some of the strategies that you can use for your synchronous, asynchronous activities now that we are in the new normal. Second phase is demonstration. So after you activate the learning of our students, very important ang demonstration. Why? Learning is promoted when learners observe a demonstration of the skills to be learned. It's the tell, show learning events where appropriate information is accompanied by appropriate examples. So this is very relevant sa mga mathematics subject, sa science subject, di ba? After you discuss a particular concept, a particular theory, you have to present to them how to do it. That's demonstration. Don't just tell learners how to do it. Prove them how it is done. Okay? So after you activate, you now tell to them and show to them that particular concept on how they can do it so that they can have the third phase. Ano yung third phase? The application. Okay? The application is where the learners need to apply their newly acquired skills to actually doing a task or actually solving a problem. So it's very important from the initial stage where you activate the learning of your student and you present to them. In short, this is the direct instruction comes in. Okay? It is now in the application stage where we let our student learn things, discover things on their own ways and means sa papaanong pamamaraan by application. So as a teachers, we have to create activities that give your learners opportunities to apply what they are learning. Very important ngayon dito yung pagdi-design natin ng mga learning activities and learning assessments natin sa ating mga mag-aaral. Again, when we create our learning strategies, learning activities, and learning assessments in the application phase of teaching and learning, it is necessary for us to consider the target learning competency, the target skills and values for our students. Hindi lang din tayo, we will not just create activities out of gusto lang natin, but we design it aligned to the necessary learning competency that we wanted them to achieve. So ito yung stage ng learning by doing. Okay? The constructivist area of the phase of learning. You activate the learning, you demonstrate it, the direct instruction comes in, you now let them do it. That's learning by doing. And the last phase is integration. Integrating the newly acquired skills into those mental models they have already acquired. From what you have initially asked to them, from what you have initially activated to them, it's very important that they apply it and they integrate it now on the things around them. We teachers now must create activities that help your learners select and express what they learn and how they may use it. Very important yon. Okay? Para saan ba itong pinag-aaralan ko? Ano ba ang katuturan sa buhay ko nito? The integration part of your teaching and learning of the students is where the relevance of your subject will come in. They must have the appreciation of and understanding ng kanilang learning, no? This is where the relevance of your subject comes in. So integrating new knowledge helps the learners connect what they are learning to their work on their lives. What is the relevance of this particular subject matter to my day-to-day living? That's the question that you have to think of. And It is now the completion and the fulfillment of a meaningful learning for our student. That's the last phase. Okay? Now, and when we successfully observe the phases of e-teaching and learning from activating, demonstrating, applying, and integrating, we develop to them problem-based learning, learn by doing, cooperative learning, and inquiry-based learning. Okay? Now, very important din na maipakita natin sa kanila ang 6 facets of understanding. And this is a new way for us teachers on how we can create our questions or formulate our questions to our students. I will not dwell much on the 6 facets of understanding, but I will give you specific questions, examples, na po pwede nyong magamit at makikita ninyo yung scaffolding from simple to complex ng pagtatanong using the 6 facets of understanding. So it's another way of saying the hats or from the revised Bloom's taxonomy, which is remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, evaluating, and creating. We can observe the 6 facets of understanding: explain, interpret, apply, perspective, empathy, and self-knowledge. Okay? Example, high school topic, grade 9, Araling Panlipunan, first quarter, economics, kakapusan at kakulangan. So ito maaaring tanong. Pagpapaliwanag, explain. Ano ang konsepto ng kakapusan at kakulangan? Bakit nagkakaroon ng kakapusan at kakulangan? Okay? So very basic pa lang. Next, interpretation. Ano ang nais ipakahulugan ni Benjamin Franklin sa kanyang pahayag na when the well is dry, we know the worth of the water? Okay? So there's now the interpretation. Next, paglalapat or application. Anong mga pangyayari kung saan nararanasan ng tao ang konsepto ng kakapusan at kakulangan? Paano mabibigyan ng solusyon ang suliranin hinggil sa kakapusan at kakulangan? Okay? Next. Perspective. In the perspective, pinag-iisip natin yung bata natin on what could be the possible thing to happen, no, in the near future. Kung patuloy na mararanasan ng tao ang suliranin hinggil sa kakapusan at kakulangan, ano ang posibleng mangyari? So that's perspective. And for empathy or empatiya, kung ikaw ang nasa katayuan ng mga taong nakararanas ng suliranin hinggil sa kakapusan at kakulangan, ano ang iyong mararamdaman? So, we place ourselves to the shoes of others, no? Inilalagay natin yung ating sarili sa kanilang sitwasyon. That's empathy. And pagkilala ng sarili, which is the endpoint, the integration phase. Paano mo tinutugunan sa iyong pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay ang suliranin hinggil sa kakapusan at kakulangan? Okay? You see, nagkaroon ngayon, it opens the integration phase for the learner on what is the relevance of this particular subject matter sa buhay ko, to the life of the student, pagkilala sa sarili. Okay? So that is just a sample on the 6 facets of understanding. Next, grade 5 lesson, Araling Panlipunan, paksa, kumbensyon sa Tejeros, Tejeros Convention, pagpapaliwanag, ano ang pangunahing dahilan sa pagpapalit ng pamahalaan ng katipunan? Bakit kailangang palitan ang pamahalaan ng katipunan? Sa pagpapaliwanag. Next, interpretasyon. Ano ang ibig ipakahulugan o implikasyon ng winika ni Daniel Tirona na ang direktor ng interior ay isang mataas na posisyon at hindi nararapat sa isang taong hindi natapos ng abogasya? So, interpretation. Next, application o paglalapat. Paano mahihikayat ang isang pinunong tumiwalag sa samahan o pamahalaan upang muling makiisa at makipagtulungan sa bagong tatag na samahan o pamahalaan? Next, perspective. Okay? Ano yung pwedeng mangyari? Kung hindi pinawalang bisa ni Bonifacio ang naganap na halalan sa kombensyon sa Tejeros, ano ang posibleng nangyari? Okay? So pinag-iisip natin yung bata on what could be the possible effect or what could be the possible scenario. Empathy. Kung ikaw ang nasa katayuan ni Bonifacio, ano ang gagawin mo kay Tirona? Bakit mo ito gagawin? And self-knowledge o pagkilala sa sarili, which is the integration portion, paano mo hinaharap ang pang-iinsulto o pagmamaliit sa iyong kakayahan. So you see, in the six facets of understanding as a new form and way of questioning for our students, we develop to them the the phases of learning, the four phases of understanding, which is activating the knowledge, and then we demonstrate it, we let them apply it, and let them integrate it to real life scenario. Very important yun ngayon. Okay? And at the end, it yields to us lecture. No, hindi yung pag nag-lecture lang tayo or hindi pag nag-lecture lang tayo, pababa ang learning ng bata. Gaya ng sinabi ko sa inyo, we have to let our students geared towards active learning, and we can have active learning by such strategies, by such ways of formulating our question among our students. Very important ang pagbuo ng active learning sa ating mga mag-aaral. Why? Because we have the two basic assumptions that number one, learning is by nature an active process. It's dynamic. It continues to evolve. Okay? And that different people learn in different ways. In short, we still consider the learning styles, the multiple intelligence of our students. So why do we need to engage them? We have to engage learners in higher order thinking skills using what I have presented to you, the six facets of understanding, as a new form of as a new way of delivering and formulating our questions among our Generation Z learners, Gen Z learners itong mga to. And the various learning styles are best served by engaging learners in active learning activities. So ito yung mga pwede nyong gawin. Graphic organizers, that's number one. Makikita naman ito sa high school learn at home kits ng Vibal. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, bongga talaga tong learn at home kits ng Vibal. I'd like you to check it, teachers. You can use it for your asynchronous activity, also for your synchronous activity. You project it and present it to your students. Ang dami doong magagamit na graphic organizer. So this is just one way that you can use as a teacher. Very important sa ating mga araling panlipunan ang debate and evaluation decision. Why? Because this strategy will let our student create their own point of view. Will let them create a meaningful stand on a particular issue. Okay? So sa estratehiyang ito, inilalahad ang dalawang magkatunggaling pananaw ng dalawang individual at pangkat. Ang paggamit nito ay isang paraan sa paglikha ng kamulatan at pagtatasa tungkol sa paksa. Very important that we let our student evaluate a particular topic, a particular issue, a particular scenario. We have to let them decide. So one of the strategy that you can use is debate and evaluation decision. Next, graffiti wall and sticky notes connection. Kahit nasa online class tayo, pwede yan. Later on, I'll suggest a online tool for you to use graffiti wall and sticky notes connection. Very important to sa ating mga araling panlipunan teachers, tala-arawan o journal. Bakit? Maaaring gamitin ito sa pagninilay at paglalagom ng natutuhan. So, ano yung mga examples ng tala-arawan? Reflection, reflective reading log, response to reading, and the double entry journal. Okay? So, very important yan sa ating mga AP teachers. At isa pang very important na strategy sa atin to have active learning, balitaan. Lalo na ngayon, nasa online na klase tayo, ang dali-dali na lang na mag-access sa balita. But we have to consider that the news that we are sending or that we are sharing to our students is reliable. Very very rampant na ang fake news. So mahalaga rin na maging critical din tayo bilang guro bago tayo magbahagi ng balita sa ating mag-aaral. Or the other way, let the student share news to the class and pose a particular question that will trigger the higher order thinking skills at pagbuo ng kanilang sariling stand or point of view on a particular issue. Next, scenario building. Very important ito for Araling Panlipunan, both grade school and high school. Hinuhubog nito ang analitikong pag-iisip, paglutas ng mga suliranin at paghihinuha tungkol sa mga nagaganap sa hinaharap. Halimbawa, ako at ang aking pamilya sa hinaharap. Kung nabubuhay pa si Rizal at ang kabataang Filipino, ang Pilipinas pagkatapos ng COVID-19. So we think of the future, that's scenario building. And last, on my discussion, kinakailangan, since we are on a particular modality and most of us is on modified hybrid, we have to be very much meticulous in picking and choosing our technology. So these are the 3 questions or checklists that you have to use in order for you to assess whether you are using the right technology in your online classes. First, what do I need the technology to do? Second, what tools do I need to use the technology? And third, what tools do students need to use the technology? Very important yon. Okay? So magbibigay ako sa inyo ng ilan lang na ginagamit ko, no? Hindi ako magbibigay ng sobrang dami dahil tatandaan, hindi ito tungkol sa hindi ito tungkol sa paramihan. Tungkol ito sa palaliman. Remember that. Okay, hindi sa paramihan, kundi sa palaliman ng paggamit ng teknolohiya. One is Nearpad. Ito, free ito. And self-paced or live. Meron sa meron siya sa iOS, sa Apple Store, and sa Android. This is web, and also available sa web. So here, the student's experience is similar to joining a webinar with slides and interactive activities that require the audience to participate in order to proceed to the next part of or to advance for the advancements of particular topic. So ano lang ang kailangan? Kailangan lang ng mag-sign up rather ng teacher and student sa Nearpad. Okay? So that is free. Pwede niyong gamitin yan. Ito, ginagamit ko rin ito, Quizlet, Kahoot, and Socrative. Ito, widely used na to sa mga teachers natin. Pwede itong gamitin sa balik-aral. Pwede rin ito gamitin sa how do you call this one? Balik-aral and activation of prior knowledge ng ating mga bata. But as a formative assessment, I don't suggest it kasi ito identification and multiple kind of test na ibinibigay it gamit ang Quizlet, Kahoot at Socrative. So this is gamified quizzes that provide immediate feedback to students whether they are right or wrong during a particular quiz. Ano lang ang kailangan? Kailangan lang gumawa ni teacher, mag-sign up siya doon sa Quizlet, Kahoot, or Socrative, and then para makasali ang bata, si teacher ang magbibigay ng link or ng QR code o ng PIN with password from the teacher so that they can join the activity. Next, ito, widely used din to, hindi na to bago sa inyo, ang Mentimeter and Poll Everywhere. Free ito, yun nga lang dahil free may limitation sa template na ilan lang ang pwede nyo i-present. No? So in a particular activity na gagawin nyo, may limitation siya kasi dahil nga free. Student may respond to the collaborative screen based on the teacher's identified time frame. Here you can have polls, word clouds, free text input boards similar to posting to at Wits. So it is like you can use rather the Mentimeter and the Poll Everywhere again for the activation of prior knowledge. Anong alam mo tungkol dito? Halimbawa, they will answer. Real time, makikita mo yung sagot upon giving to them the link, the code, magsasagot sila doon. You can also have multiple type of quiz or balik-aral sa kanila. Kung makita natin, kasi graphical and illustrative yung dating ng pagpe-present ng data. So makikita mo using a bar graph kung A ang sagot, B ang sagot, so on and so forth, may kita mo kung tama yung naging sagot ng bata at kung ilan sa kanila ang tama ang nakuha ang sagot. So, yun ang kagandahan ng Mentimeter and Poll Everywhere. Ano lang ang requirement? The teacher must sign up in the Mentimeter and Poll Everywhere, and for the student to access the Mentimeter and Poll Everywhere, the teacher must send to the student the link, the QR code, or the PIN with a particular password. Okay? And last, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na pwedeng gamitin for graffiti and sticky note connection, the Padlet and the Google Jamboard. Okay? Kasi here, the students on real time can contribute on a particular wall, on a common wall. They can respond, they can react, and build content in a collaborative space. Pwede silang magdoodle, magsulat, mag-insert ng illustration or image, maglagay insert ng video, mag-insert ng sticky notes that is relevant and related to the concept that you want them to draw out, no, that you wanted to see from your learners. And here they can make connection by putting arrows on the Jamboard or on the collaborative wall. Ano ang kailangan dito? Kailangan lang mag-sign up the teacher so that the student can join. The student can join using the link that will be provided, that will be given by the teacher. Okay? So, those are just some of the technologies that you can use. Bakit kaunti lang ang prinisend ko? Pauulitin ko, tatandaan natin, sa panahon ngayon ng online na klase, very important na maiangat natin ang ating pagtuturo na kung saan ay mai-engage natin yung ating mga mag-aaral at sa paanong pamamaraan sa paggamit nga ng teknolohiya. Ngunit hindi basihan ang maraming teknolohiya sa galing at sa paglalabas ng learning sa ating mga mag-aaral. Remember, hindi ito sa paramihan kung hindi sa palaliman. That's very important. So you just have to pick a particular technology that you're going to utilize in your online classes, in your modified hybrid discussion, in order for you to achieve and attain meaningful and active learning among your students. Okay? So that's it. That is how you can accent your teaching and learning now that we are in the modified hybrid class of modality. And to tie the knot and to end the night, I'd like to share to you, teachers, let us all remember there is no such thing as best teaching method. The best method is the one that works, the one that yields results. Thank you very much and keep safe to all. Let us all together learn at home as we learn as one PH. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we will proceed to the question and answer portion. Our first question is from Grace Compuesta. In learning styles, which is better po? Is it learner modality or content modality that's important?
Syempre, very important ang parehas. No? We have to consider both. Why? Because, number one, when we talk about content, that is your plan. That is your the initial stage of everything that you are doing in the teaching learning process. You have to first design. You have to plan by designing your curriculum. And you have to see to it that when you design a particular activity, formative assessment to utilize in your online class, it must be responsive to the target skills and values that you want to achieve. Very important yon. Hindi kayo basta gumagawa lang ng activities and formative assessment out of nothing. It must target the particular learning competency. At pangalawa, yung sinasabi mo na i-consider yung technology na gagamitin, no? So, magkasama yon, sabay natin yung ginagawa at initial na ginagawa yon doon sa pagpaplano. In the PDC cycle, di ba, we plan, we do, and then we check at the end. We check, we evaluate whether what we have done yields learning, yields result for our learners. If not, balik tayo dun sa initial stage, which is planning. Okay? And when we plan, again, we have to take into consideration the alignment, the target skills that we want our students to achieve.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is from Danny Simbulan. How can we understand better the new learning style that our learners prefer if in our new learning modalities if we just interact with them online?
Okay. Um, very impersonal kasi talaga ang ano. The school year 2020-2021, when you have the feeling, when you have the chance, the start, the way that you start your class, very impersonal ang dating talaga ng pagtuturo. Kaya nga, you have to really level up, accent your delivery of instruction, accent your formative assessments in a way that you can engage your student, motivate your students to the target skills na gusto mo sa kanila, no? So initially you have to ikaw din magtasa ka din, tignan mo din, no? I-evaluate mo din ano ba yung anong klase ba ang mga learners ko? Nakabukas ba lahat ng camera nila o nakasarado ang camera nila? Paano ko mai-engage yung aking mga mag-aaral na hindi nagsasalita gamit ang microphone at gumagamit lang ng chat box? So you think of you initially look for ways muna, you experiment muna, no? You experiment sa iyong experience in the teaching, and along the process, as you experiment, you now try to one by one create your very own strategy that is really useful, and that you see yields learning and yields result at the end of your discussion. At pag meron ka ng repository ng strategy and learning assessment na maaari mong magamit, pagtibayin mo lalo yon. Okay? So yun ang pwede natin gawin. It's really difficult to teach now that we are in the online class. Yun nga kasi impersonal yung tono ng boses natin, di ba? Unlike in the in-person discussion, remember, we teacher is the best form of motivation. Yung palang pagpasok mo, yung boses mo, yung accent ng boses mo, yung dating mo, lahat yun, it motivates them eh. And now that we are in the online class, we still have to observe it. Yun nga lang, may mga limitasyon na tayo. Okay? And very important that now that we are in the online class, wag nating dalhin yung karamihan ng estratehiya natin sa old normal papunta ng new normal. Tatandaan natin, new normal na ito, bago ito. Hindi ito kadugtong ng old normal. Ito ay bagong konsepto talaga. So mahalaga na maging flexible tayo ngayon as we go along the way in order for us to know our learner. That's very important. And at the end, we wanted them to achieve a particular learning competency that will develop active learning among our students.
Thank you, sir. That's all the questions we have for now. Any last reminders to our viewers for today po?
Hopefully you learn something on our discussion. Remember, we are on a trying times due to COVID-19, due to this pandemic, but we are all teachers. We have been leveling up, accenting ourselves throughout our career. So, carry natin yan. Kayang-kaya natin kung paano dadalhin ang ating pagtuturo at pagkatuto ng ating mga mag-aaral sa isang meaningful na panuroang taon. Thank you very much, and together, let us learn as one PH.
There we have it. In behalf of Vibal Group Incorporated, I would like to thank our speaker for today for this very eye-opening and insightful learning session. It is an honor to have you with us today, sir.
Maraming salamat, Miss Jillian, Miss Michelle, and Vibal, and to all our teachers, students, all over Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. Maraming salamat po. Nawa ay naging mabunga at mapagpala ang gabing ito sa ating lahat.
And to all our Kavibal viewers, all thanks to you for your continuous patronage to our daily learning session. Don't forget to register to get your e-certificate of participation. We also encourage you to subscribe and watch on our official Vibal Facebook and YouTube channel. Muli, maraming salamat at magandang araw sa ating lahat.